Right. So first of all, I hope everybody had a wonderful holidays, happy new year, and your 2025 calendar year is off to a great start. I know mine is. I had a good break. I took some time off, and I hope everybody had a nice little rest and a time to refresh and reboot and get ready to crush it this year. I know, of all the episodes that we had last year, there were so many great talks, so many great things, and every year I want to kick it off with a bang. And I was introduced to Roderick from SEP here in Calgary. We met, we had a great conversation. I am so pumped about this conversation, Roderick. I just wanted to say thank you for joining me from the Valley. How are you, and how was your holidays?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I have been excited about this one this morning as well. And to answer your question, the holidays were amazing. I've got a brand new 10-month-old granddaughter. So we got a chance to be grandma and grandpa and Santa Claus for the first time. It's next year that I'm really looking forward to, though, because this year she was just kind of tearing up papers.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. Like I unfortunately lost my dad here unexpectedly,
Sorry to hear.
and I am so excited to be a grandpa. I really, really am. I love kids. I love our girls. I am just extremely excited for that opportunity when it comes. I can wait a few years, but I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. My daughter's older, and it's interesting to be able to have my daughter's daughter held in my hand and know that this is legacies that's going to go well beyond after me. And I'll say the biggest bright spot of the holiday season was she called me grandpa for the first time.
Oh
And
my
so
god.
I was just like, okay, here's the wallet. Take the money, plastic, cash, just take it all. It's all yours. She's got me wrapped up like a pretzel now.
It's all over.
Oh, it's a wrap. I thought it was bad with her mom, but now it's a different level of love for those grands.
Oh my god, I mean, that is funny. That is good. And again, I think that's part of the reason why I'm so excited about being a grandpa, right?
Yeah. And so to kind of give a little foreshadow for where we're going, now I understand why I'm still here. I understand
Oh,
my why every time that little girl looks in my eyes.
I mean, that's great. I mean, I love that, right? I mean, I think that that's a powerful statement. Like I got goosies right now just after you said that. And to be quite honest, as you said, you were excited about this conversation. I've been thinking about it since our conversation in November, and you're probably one of the most accomplished people I've had on this show.
Thank you.
I
I'm
mean, you're a
truly honored.
keynote speaker, author, master of the sale, and I'm excited to dive in. So, why don't share a little bit of your background story and how you came into these roles?
Yeah, so it goes back 30 years ago now that I actually started in sales. I was a biz dev rep, dialing for dollars. The young
Yeah,
kid out of college that said, hey, here's the first real corporate job. And I had no idea what I was walking into. But it was something that I immediately attached to because it felt like I was just having conversations with people, having
yeah.
fun, and selling things and making money. I did really well, got promoted to account rep, went to President's Club a couple of times. And then what do? They promote you to sales leader. Well, I threw a curve at them. I turned it down. And instead of taking on a sales leader role, I said, what if I could do two things? And I was talking to my SVP of sales. I said, one, what if I could get people up ramped faster by the basic rudimentary templates, that I had created. The other thing was, what if I had the best present that you ever could have as a sales leader? You've got more people going to President's Club than you have budget for. And he said, well, then you've got a new job. So I talked myself into being a sales trainer at the time. And then fast forward quickly, I was fortunate enough to move into sales enablement, sales effectiveness, sales, name it, right? And so I've been blessed to be with some of the best countries, with some of the best companies on the planet. I've been with Siebel, eBay, HP, Oracle, Salesforce, Marketo, but not because I'm this amazing guy, but it made sense. And I was blessed to be placed in a network of executives that just simply moved me from one spot to the next. And now, from a personal perspective, grew up in Texas, in California now, been married 34 years, and she's still putting up with me. So I figure she's got to be up for sainthood by now.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, and I think that's our passion, right? I mean, I dropped out of university. I found my calling, which was sales, and and I ran with it. And one of the things that was maybe a little different in our kind of maybe career trajectories is that I was with family companies and small companies,
Mm.
which allowed me to really understand the importance of the early stage numbers and what margin was, and if you didn't sell this and that, and people's and employees and things like that, which is a total different experience that you would have been with some of the companies that you had.
I wouldn't say total. Now
No.
let's peel the onion let's a bit. So you heard the great, huge, amazing logos. I was acquired by these companies in smaller companies. So I've always been in smaller companies, and that's where my heart lies. I've been a part of 14 M&A activities, either acquiring or being acquired throughout my career. And so when I started my consulting gig, I said, no, 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 I don't want to help the big ones. They've got enough of people like me. I want to help the small founders all the way up through, call it, series B plus, right? And the reason is they need the help, they need the experience, they need the best practices, they need the templates. But where do you go find someone like me, right? That's done this, that also knows how to speak the language and has lived and walked in the shoes of a founder themselves. There's a unicorn for you.
There, that statement that you just ended on, that is something that I live by, I preach by, and I truly believe if you've never been an entrepreneur or a founder, you should not be helping one.
No, no.
You
How
don't
can I tell
understand what
you?
they go through.
Yeah, how can I talk to you about how comfortable or uncomfortable shoes are that I've never stepped in, right?
Yeah.
What do I know about being, as we were talking about before coming on, being a one-man show where you've got to work on the business at the same time you're working in the business. You've got to wear every hat. And when I left corporate, and I say this to people that are looking to move into becoming entrepreneurs, I'll tell you the thing that I wish somebody would have told me. And it was quite simple. Appreciate everything you learn in corporate and then forget it all because it's nothing like being an entrepreneur. When I was a senior vice president, if my laptop had a problem, I shipped it off to IT. If I needed beautification of a deck, simply shipped it off to marketing or product marketing. If I had a question about process, I could go to sales ops. There is none of that around me. So now you've got to figure out how to be nimble while being consistent, while scaling, constantly learning, and at the same time, figuring out how do you streamline it and operationalize your business at the same time that you're trying to grow your business. It is the most delicate balance that I have ever seen in my entire life. And to every entrepreneur out there, I love you like family, because I feel your pain and I'm still feeling your pain every day, 7 years later.
And speaking of that pain, that is something that we're really going to dive into now, right? That reality of entrepreneurship, that mental health, that how do you go about being that solopreneur or a co-founder with one other person in a company,
Mhm.
and deal with the stresses, the not knowing how to do things, not knowing who to call, scared to ask for help, like those are all things that can crush not only a business, but the person that has founded the company.
Absolutely. That can wear on your mental as well as on your soul. And I've really been thinking about this coming in today. And I'm kind of looking backwards on what I wish I would have had. And I would love to be able to share that. The first thing is, even if you're a solopreneur, don't make yourself an island. Get yourself a good ecosystem around you of people that do different things than what you do. It's funny because we think, oh, I've got to go to the person that did what I'm doing exactly the way. No, 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 no. What you want is diversification of thought around you and also experiences. The second thing is failure is going to happen, but it doesn't mean that because you fell, you can't get back up. You've got to get back up. Right. Because as I said earlier, in corporate, I can hand things off. Now, if you don't prospect, if you don't follow up, if you don't reach out, if you don't fill in the blank, no one's going to come and do it for you unless you pay for a VA or you get other folks around you, right? The third thing is the old adage of, and the way we were taught, Jade, is always be selling. Scratch that from your mind. Stop selling altogether. Stop selling, start helping. Once you figure out who your ideal client profile is, your ICP, have conversations. Don't give them presentations because no one wants to be sold at or talked at. Right. So make sure you're doing that. I found myself at the barbershop when I had hair at the barbershop thinking, okay, I need to tell these people about what they're doing because everybody needs to know what I'm doing because how can their life exist without it? They can, they will, and they will continue to without what you sell if you continue selling. And everybody's not a client, right? You've got to learn how to turn this off and become a person. And that is right there, I think, the biggest reason and driver for the stroke that I had was I never learned how to turn it off. As entrepreneurs, we're ultimately overachievers. We're also overworkers. We're also overthinkers and over fill in the blank. Once you figure out how to find some balance, I'm not talking about work-life balance. I'm really, truly talking about life balance. Because the work-life thing, it's going to ebb and flow. There's times you're super busy. There's other times where you're not. But I've realized now in wisdom and age, life will continue lifing. It's about how you monitor that. And notice I didn't say monetize, but how you monitor it, Jay.
And one of the things that you said in there, right? Like a lot of it kicks in, right? To what we're talking about. People will always buy from people. People will deal with people they trust. Like I've seen so many people get out there and just, walk up and I'm going to speak from personal experience. Walk up to me and know, my background, my history, my investing, and just boom, just pitching me hard. And I'm just
the old pitch slap, huh?
Holy Jesus. I'm just like, well, a lot of times I say, hey man, slow down. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Let's get to know each other here. Like this is like, and again, it's something that people have to learn. And I get everybody needs money. Everybody wants investment. Everybody wants to do this. But building that community around you. And we here in Alberta have an unbelievable community that everybody works together. It's so collaborative. It's priceless. And if you ever get up here, Roderick, you'll probably walk
up in the
away
summer, not in the
amazed.
winter though.
Oh, no. Come for the Stampede. Then you'll get the best of everything. But again, that is so important. Like you said, build a community around you, build people. It doesn't matter if I'm in tech and somebody has a clothing store, we still have the same problems as a growing business.
Oh, absolutely. They may call it something different. It may come in a different form, but we all have the same problems and the same goals realistically.
Yeah. And being able to ask for help. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. And I say that on a daily basis.
Can you please say that again?
Asking for help is not a sign of weakness.
Thank you. It's actually a sign of strength. Because I've realized again in wisdom, there are two things that are inevitable that will make you look very, very strong. One is asking for help. Three things. The second is admitting when they're wrong. And third is three of the biggest little words you'll ever hear besides I love you. And that is, I don't know. No. There's value in all of those because it allows vulnerability. And with vulnerability comes teachability. And we're all looking and constantly growing. And without being able to say those three things and do those three things, you'll forever be on an island and you will forever be stressed.
Oh, and if you are stressed, it runs into the rest of your life, whether it be your marriage, your friendships, your relationship with your kids, your parents, friends. I mean, it's very unhealthy.
Stress impacts every part of your world and your life. And the problem is things like what went on with me with having my strokes was I didn't even see it coming, because especially as entrepreneurs, we get to, and I'll call it the red line of stress, and we live there. So it becomes the norm for us. And so we don't even realize where we're at. And I remember I started writing my third book, and the first title of it was, "Why Does Everyone See Your Stress But You?" And I went, wait a minute, it's well beyond that now, because people around you see, they feel it. Because whether it be you get a little punchy, or you get a little snippy, or you're constantly tired, or you're disengaged, or you're not a part of the family or your friend circle, whatever it is, they notice this. I'm going to ask your watchers and your audience here, when you see that with people, please say something to them, because they may not see it. I didn't see it. No one said it to me until I had a stroke and I was incapacitated and was too late. If you see that and that red line, with care, with love, please make sure you go and say, "Hey, I noticed fill in the blank. Are you okay? How are you feeling? I've noticed you've been really stressful lately." And just those small things may be enough for that person to stop for a moment and snap back or snap out of where they are. And frankly and honestly, and from the bottom of my heart, this may be what saves their life. And I'm not trying to be grandiose and facetious. This
No.
may be the one thing it takes to save their life. Because
It,
based on stress, what I've learned from American Stroke Society is 1 in every 4 people over the age of 25 will experience a stroke. I've had 2. The first one, I didn't even know it happened until the MRI later and the CT scans of my massive stroke. They said, "Oh, this is not your first rodeo. You've had one before." I couldn't even pinpoint when it happened. It could have felt like a migraine. It could have felt like a bad headache. It could have been a dizzy spell. Things that we all deal with. So if you see it, please say it.
No, again, this is a fantastic conversation we're having right now with Roderick Jefferson. You can go to his website, roderickjefferson.com. It's in the comment section. Just click on it. It'll take you there. You can buy his books, and reach out if you want to book him as a keynote speaker or anything.
Thank you.
When you said that, I just kind of want to talk about when somebody reaches out to you. And I mean, I know what I do, and I've talked about it a lot. I like, and again, my position here, people feel comfortable reaching out to me because I've talked about my issues, my stresses, my addictions, my problems in the past, as an entrepreneur and even on the personal side. So I get, I kind of have my way of doing it. If somebody reaches out and asks for help for you, what would be, what would you do, or what would be your advice to somebody who may be put into that situation that they're not maybe ready for, or trained for?
Are we talking personally or professionally here first? Let me make sure.
Professionally.
Professionally, I mentor a lot, and it always starts with kind of a 3-part question. And it's the reason you've reached out. Do you want me to listen? Do you want me to coach? Or do you just want me to fix? Because you're telling me what ears to put on. And before any of those, after we've had the pleasantries and the personal conversation first, and I want to say that I want to know who the person is. I am not talking to their problem. I'm talking to an individual that may feel like they have a problem. So let me be clear there. So that 3-part question sets the whole table for where we're going. It's the roadmap for where we're going to go together. And once we get to that part, now I'm a why kind of guy, right? What is wonderful? How is amazing? I want to understand why. Why me? Why'd you reach out? What is it you're trying to get to? What does success look like? And how can I help you? And here's the key right here, Jade, today. Because your questions tomorrow may be very different than yesterday. So let's talk in the moment here, and then let's reverse engineer back to how we got to where we are today. I don't ever claim to be clinical, nor do I ever want to be. I'm not a counselor. I'm not trained in that. But what I do know is, and I always say this, I may not know how you feel about fill in the blank, but I know how it feels. and there's always something that I can relate it to. I just want to have a conversation with people. I'm not here to present to you. I'm not here to sell to you. I'm not even here to try and show how amazingly intelligent I am or articulate I am. Nah. And here's the other piece. If I can help, I will. If not, I'm the first to say, that's a bit out of my wheelhouse, but you know what? I've got enough of a network. I've got somebody I think you should talk to. And I think that does far more than trying to fluff or BS somebody.
I I mean, this is just like I'm tingling right now because that is exactly almost the same way that I do it as well. And I mean, just for people that are listening, this is the first time I've asked Roderick this question, so
Yeah.
it's not something we've rehearsed and said,
No,
"Hey, let's
there's no
plan this
rehearsal
out."
here.
Like it is such a powerful thing. Listening when somebody reaches out is such a powerful thing, and I've had 3 suicide talks with entrepreneurs, which caught me off guard. The first one really
Yeah.
caught me off guard. The next
Yeah.
one, I went and talked to professionals to see how I should handle those conversation, and I do handle them a little bit different than before, just based on the knowledge that I received from professionals. Because, like you, I am more. It's more important to get them the help they need. And again, the hardest step is that first step of reaching out and asking for help.
Because we like one another. We want to be helpful. We don't need to be right.
Yeah.
It's not about right. It's literally, how can I help you? And if I can't help you, where can I point you to get help?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that is, man. I'm just loving this. I'm loving this conversation. And again, for anybody who wants any more information on Roderick, go to his website. It's in the comment section. Click on the link. You'll go there and you can get any of his books or book him. So I want to talk a little bit more about what's next for you and some of the things that you have planned. For you, whether it be for personal and helping people, advisory, what are you looking at doing, and what exciting things are coming up?
I think I'll start this way and step back for a moment. I don't do resolutions, but every year I find one word that is going to be my guiding light or my North Star for that given calendar year. For 25, it's change.
Mm,
And it's interesting you would ask that question, what's next? Everything is changing. And what I mean is, so last year I left corporate completely as an entrepreneur, right? And as a keynote speaker. That was an enormous amount of change, which came with a high level of stress and fear. This year, the change is to take all of that hard work that was and process that was put in place to practical application. It's my year of doing. So that means more advisory with smaller companies. That means more consulting on a fractional basis with mid-sized to large companies. That means new audiences for my keynotes. Normally, I would talk about sales and marketing, about driving revenue, increasing productivity, leveraging AI. While I'm still doing that, there's also another side where I'm talking now to companies, to conferences, associations around the book that's coming out later this year that I call Stroke of Success. And
mm,
how my climb to success almost killed me. Now, what's the resilience? What's the determination? What's the fight? What's the grit that it took to get back from a guy that went snowblind? I was unable to talk. I lost my left side completely. I couldn't walk. I couldn't move my left arm. I'm a walking miracle, and I say that openly. It's been an enormous amount of prayer, but a lot of hard work. Now, everyone won't have a stroke, but everyone has something difficult that they have to fight through. And that's what I'm out there talking about now.
and when is this? Let's dive into this new book that's coming out. It's your
Yes.
third book.
Yes.
When is it releasing? And give us a little more details about it.
Yeah, I was shooting for April 23rd, my birthday, which
Oh,
because having that stroke, and I want to say when I had my stroke, and me and I talked about it, right? Not only did I have the stroke, but I actually coded, I died, and they brought me back. So April 23rd has a lot of significance now, which is my true physical birthday, not my rebirth, which would be October. And so I'm pushing for that piece. The book is literally about what it takes to be successful, not from, oh, do this, that, but stories that push me to that point and that brink without knowing. So my goal is to show people how you can actually get to a crisis, I'll say, and not even realize that you're at that point yet. And then what does it take to not just realize it, but now to make changes? I pray that folks don't have to go through what I went through.
Mm,
But even if
yes.
you don't, everybody go, like I said earlier, life is lifing, and everybody's going through something. And so what I'm doing is giving some best practices. I'm never one to say, here's what I think you should do. No, my statement has always been this, Jade. Here's what I've seen work or not work. And then I'm going to let you make that determination of whether it works for you or not.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of I love that statement. And I mean, even just to add on to that a bit, sometimes it's just like slow down, relax, take a little time for yourself, and then focus on what the next step is going to be. Right? It's
Absolutely.
not always rush, rush, bang, bang, bang. You know, it's just
No.
slow down, relax, take some time to yourself, and just slow down.
Yeah, a lot of people feel bad or feel nervous about taking care of themselves because they feel selfish.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. It's actually selfless. And I didn't realize how fast I was moving until my daughter asked me a question that I didn't have an answer for. And the question was, so dad, what do you do for a hobby? And I said, what is this hobby you speak of, child? Right. And then it really hit me. I could tell you everything I do professionally. I can tell you what my goals were, what my accolades, my awards, etc., all the things that I've done. But I realized that as an executive at the time, and all of us, not even at that level. So I'll scratch that. We are here, especially men, to provide and protect. And I felt like I was doing that, so that was my job. But I put it into hyperdrive. And it got to the point to where I was doing so much to provide for and protect, I wasn't actually there to interact with them. So that question alone made me stop for a moment and go, what do I do for fun? What hobbies do I do? And what do I do just for myself? Not to help, not to fix, not to include, but just for yourself. If you don't have an answer for that, really put some thoughts into it. Because if it doesn't, that means that while your priorities are straight, these priorities may need to be shifted now.
Yeah, and it's never wrong to shift your priorities, but it is more important to take what I call me time. And
Absolutely.
even and what works for me doesn't work, might not work for you, and what works for you, won't work for my wife, or and vice versa. You got to find what you love, what your passion is, and do it. And even yesterday, as an example, like one of my meetings was a squash meeting with a kind of a colleague, a friend, a mentor in the ecosystem, Ian McDonald. And it was just a great, we only played 3 games because we ended up talking most of the time, but it was not in an office, not in a coffee shop, not over Zoom. It was something different, right? And it was a whole different conversation that revolved out of it.
Which is why I say no presentations, just conversations. If you're
Yeah.
talking to people and you're really intently listening and hearing, which we both know are two different things, it's amazing how conversations just evolve.
Isn't that the truth, right? Oh my goodness.
Well, because
Again,
most of us listen to hear how to either fix or what I want to get my piece in about. And there's the difference between listening and hearing. If you're hearing this person, oh, okay, I hear what they're saying. If I'm really listening, I am now dedicated in this conversation. And as my family has told me, you're also present because you can be in the same room on the same couch and still not be present.
yeah, absolutely, right? Absolutely. Again, this has been a powerful conversation with Roderick. Again, check out his website, roderickjefferson.com. It's in the comment section. I mean, it's going to inspire me for many weeks, this conversation. And I'm so grateful for you taking time out of your day to come share your knowledge, with us. So thank you for that, Roderick.
Thank you so much. Before I
But
go, I
oh,
would
I
be
got one
remiss.
more question for
Go
you.
right ahead. Go right ahead.
With someone with your wealth of knowledge, and I'll give you the last word after this, but I mean, I've been asking this question for over 350 episodes, and I thought it would go away after, 50, that I've heard all these advice and all these little things, but it hasn't, because everybody has some little tidbit or piece of knowledge or experience that is unique to them.
Mhm.
So I'm extremely excited about hearing yours. So, Roderick, if you had one piece of advice for a entrepreneur, startup, or founder, what would that be?
Go and find someone that has been there and done that before, and don't try to recreate the wheel, because everyone has their passions. We've all got our reasons why we're entrepreneurs or founders, but don't be afraid to go in, and I'm going to say it, pay someone to help you, because sometimes free costs too much.
Yeah, that very, very, very true. Very true on that, right? And you don't have to take the advice of somebody, if you don't want it, if you don't think in your gut, you don't feel that. And I tell people, this is your company, this is your vision, this is your dream. And if you've asked me or anybody else for help,
Yeah.
I'll share, I'll share my vision, I'll make introductions, I'll help you. But in the end, you do what you feel is right for you and your vision forward.
Well, I connected and attributed the same way as being a parent. I look at your company as your baby that's going to
Mhm.
go through all of the stages just like children that grow up, right? And throughout that time, we're all going to get solicited or unsolicited a ton of advice and input. Some of it's wonderful, some of it you just kind of nod, and other things you go, "The hell were you thinking?" Right? But as you were saying, Jade, you're going to get all of this, and the same now goes for business. You're going to get a ton of advice, advisory, input, feedback, etc. Take it for what it's worth. It's like wheat and chaff. Take off what doesn't and keep the other piece that works for you, because this is your vision. This is your baby. This is your passion. And what, to your point, you said earlier, and I love that you said it, what works for one may not work for everybody else.
No, absolutely. No, this has been a powerful conversation. And again, I appreciate your time. And as usual, I'd love to give, I always say, less of me and more of my guests make a better conversation. So why don't you finish off this interview?
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Two things. We all stop on a monthly, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, and we reflect. Why do we not do that with our life? Because that would be enough right there to have you slow down and really reevaluate where you are. Do a personal inventory check, mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and be honest with yourself, and be very clear and direct with yourself. And don't just take it as an inventory. But if something isn't there, just like if it were your car, you would go and get it serviced. Sometimes you need that. And that could come in the form of therapy. It could come in the form of your ecosystem. It could come in the form of something as simple as getting manicure, pedicure, massage. Take some time for you and pamper yourself. The final thing that I want to say on this is, um, with my stroke, I was actually diagnosed by my wife. I was on a business trip flying. I was down in Southern California in LA. And I am alive, and I know it for a fact because she knew the symptoms of a stroke. And I want to share that with your audience. And it's an acronym, it's FAST, FAST. The F is for facial drooping. Check someone's face. Has it distorted in any way? The next is the A stands for arm weakness. If they can't lift, if they can't move the way they normally do, there may be a problem. The next is speech difficulties. Sometimes it's slur. Sometimes it's the inability to talk. Other times they're just out of step and out of phase for what they normally sound like. And the T is a big one. Time to call emergency services, because with a stroke, every moment matters. If they get it right away, they've got a medication that they can literally inject and it can break up the clot. Mine, it was too late. I had my stroke while I was asleep. 98% of sleep victims never wake up. I am blessed enough to be in that 2% club, but that other 98% aren't here to tell you the things that I'm saying now. Again, 1 out of every 4 people over the age of 25 will experience some stroke in some form or fashion. It may not completely incapacitate you. It may incapacitate you. It may kill you. But there are ways to actually make sure that you can mitigate the things that's got you there. And most of the time, it's stress. And again, we get to that level of redlining and we get comfortable there. How about get comfortable focusing on, in your 2 words, Jade, me time? Thank you for the opportunity to share this with your audience. I truly appreciate it. And I hope that
Oh,
I've given you and them something that is useful and usable.
no, absolutely. And the world's a better place for you being in that 2%. And I really do look forward to meeting you in person one day
Looking
and
forward to it.
having a coffee or a tea and just having another good conversation, because this is 2 of the best conversations I've ever had in my life.
Thank you very much. And likewise, I'm looking forward to sitting across the table from you, my man.
Awesome. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for tuning in. Again, click on his website if you want to find out more about Roderick. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we will chat soon. Take care, Roderick, and